of just the upper western part of the U.S. as Twilight, and I know that's terrible association for you guys that are from there, but that's just what I think of.
My mom and I went to the Pacific Northwest about a year and a half ago, and we spent a full day in Anacortes, Washington, sea kayaking, and it was amazing. Wow. Absolutely amazing. It's so beautiful up there. Awesome.
It's justg.com. Okay, that's Giselle from Canada. Denise, we're excited you're here too.
And I'm a Thompson too, so maybe somewhere distantly we're related.
Let's just assume that you are. Let's just assume this is like a reuniting of your family here.
That's right. Every time we see Thompson anything, we're like, oh, yeah, family business. There we go. Anacortes is an hour from you. Oh, it's so pretty up there. It's really beautiful up there. So, okay. And my tagline is live well, love your life, leave a legacy. Sounds similar to what you're doing. That's a great tagline, Beth. Very powerful.
That's neat that we've got some people that are pretty connected here. Kirsten and I feel like we're stalking each other by accident because we keep we're doing really similar things and we keep running into each other all over the place online without intending to, because we're just really connected. So we decided this would be a great place to make it official and be connected. So
yeah. And it's great because I think what each one of us is doing kind of complements the other in a nice way. So there's not this really crazy competition thing going on. It's a lot of encouragement, and we like to both of us are huge fans of encouraging other people to do their own thing and to be successful on their own. And I think that's really awesome. So, all right, well, you think we should get started?
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic so you can do the intro and I won't be switching back.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited that you guys are here. And just for those of you, I know some people are going to pop in late, and that's totally fine. We are going to have a replay. I will email a link to you guys hopefully tomorrow afternoon with a link to the replay so you can catch all of that and watch it again if you need to take notes. So at this point, I just want to invite you guys to just listen. I don't want you to feel like you have to fiendishly be writing notes, because I feel like you miss a lot when you're trying to do that. So just listen for the live version, and then tomorrow when you get the replay, you can go back and watch it and take notes if you want to. One of us at all times will be watching the chat box, so feel free to ask questions. We will hopefully we're going to try to get to those at the end, as many as we can. So when I'm talking, Kirsten will be watching the chat box. When she's talking, I'll be watching it. So just a quick introduction of who I am and who we are and what we're doing today. My name is Kirsten Thompson, and I am the blogger behind SweetTeaLLC.co. I provide encouragement and education for bloggers and creatives, and my primary expertise is email marketing. I am a MailChimp girl, and I'm really excited to have Kiki here today for the webinar because she is a ConvertKit girl, so it's really nice to have that other perspective. We are going to be talking today about how engagement is more important than numbers, primarily as that relates to your email marketing strategy. And I'm just thrilled today, honestly, because this is something that I harp on a lot myself, and I try to encourage people not to focus solely on the number of subscribers they have or how many page views they have or that sort of thing, because it's really not that important. In a growth strategy, yes, but as it actually relates to building your community, which is what we all want to do, the engagement is what you need to be focusing on. So I'm going to throw it over to Kirsten, and just a quick way for you guys to remember which one of us is which. Kirsten is my name, and I have the curly hair, so they kind of sound the same, Kirsten and curls. Kirsten is Kiki. You can call her Kiki, you can call her Kirsten, it doesn't matter. But that's who we are. So I'm going to let Kirsten introduce herself, and then we're going to get started.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we have Kirsten and Kirsten, and you guys can think of me as Kiki. A lot of people call me that in real life anyway. So I have been blogging for like 11 years, and I have a lifestyle blog. It's just KirstenOliphant.com. It used to be I Still Hate Pickles, and then I moved, as bloggers do. You start a blog, and then you adapt, and then you change, and then you move your blog, and then you start a new blog. So last year I launched CreateIfWriting.com, which is a site for bloggers and writers all about building authentic platform and getting inspiration. I have a podcast that goes along with that. That's just Create If Writing. And I sort of became this accidental nerd about email. Like I just started really, I started really seeing the benefits of it. And I think I'd had an email list for a couple of years, and, you know, I sent an email kind of every week, but it grew steadily. But I started seeing, well, I guess what happened, this is the impetus for me. And hopefully this will be maybe something that'll encourage you guys. But for me, I had a month finally where I got to like that, you know, 100,000 page views, like that threshold where you're like, and now the world is mine and I'm going to be the most awesome blogger ever. Cause I finally got past that number. And then the next month, Pinterest changed an algorithm and my traffic got cut in half, like literally in half, actually it was like under 50%. And it showed me how fragile page views were, and also how fragile like trusting in another platform to bring me that traffic was. And meanwhile, my email list didn't fluctuate. Like it just kept that steady growth. And I wish it had seen a jump that month and those people had stuck around. And that kind of made me realize like, okay, I'm not paying enough attention to email. This stays constant. The other stuff can come and go because I don't own it. I mean, you do own your blog in a sense, but you can't control how many people come to see it. You can control the email that goes out. So I'm going to dive into kind of our overview. So as I said, you know, email is so important. And I feel like a lot of times I'm having to really like convince bloggers of this. And I think the sooner you're convinced of this, the better off you're going to be. That if you're trusting in page views, if you're trusting in other platforms, those are really, really fragile things. You know, Facebook, if you ever got tons of traffic from Facebook and then there was like the death toll as it changed the algorithm so that there's like so little organic reach unless you're paying for it. If you've had Pinterest, you know, they changed the algorithm. I'm finally kind of back up to where I was, but there were months where I had no, my referral, just literally the same posts were my top posts. They were just cut in half. You can't control those platforms. You can't control the algorithms. Email you can control. You are directly delivering something to somebody else's inbox, and that's really intimate. It's a great way to have connections, like Kirsten said, for that engagement, for that one-to-one. Even though it's like one-to-many, when you get that email, it's like it's coming just to you. So it's a really personal, great way to actually get to know people and build a more rabid fan kind of audience. And so for me now, I've switched my mindset. So like email is underneath everything. My main goal is to grow my list full of readers and people who want to be there. And so I use social and my blog to kind of funnel people down to this place where I really want them to be, which is to be my email subscribers. So now I'll turn it over to you, Kirsten, to talk about that.
And I have honestly the exact same opinion and a similar story. I've been blogging myself for about 6 years, and I have rebranded in that time. And it's just been interesting to see the waves of traffic from, you know, the way that I've been trying to do different things over the years. And I fell into the whole email marketing thing kind of by accident, and a very similar story to Kirsten. I think that's why she and I relate so well, because I've been using email marketing for my own blog for more than 4 years, and I've been on MailChimp from the very beginning. And I am just a very eager learner. I like to learn as much as I can about everything I'm interested in. And so I just have really been diving in over the past few years and learning as much as possible about not just MailChimp, but about email marketing in general. And I started having bloggers come to me asking for help with different parts of their email marketing strategy. And it just kind of developed into this now full-time business that I have. And I'm able to work from home and help other bloggers build their email marketing strategy. And what excites me most about everything that I do is the fact that bloggers are finally starting to see the importance of having a really good engaged email list. And that's the word that we're focusing on today, is the engaged part. It's one thing to build your list to this massive number of subscribers, but it's a totally different thing to have actual engagement. And we're going to give you different tips and things that have worked for us and for our clients in the past to help improve that engagement. And we're going to talk about different things like improving your open rate, helping to try to improve your click rate, actually getting into people's inboxes instead of spam folders, and ultimately creating a community of subscribers through your email list. I definitely am a fan of relying more heavily on your email list than on social media, but I do use social media in tandem to try to promote my email list. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later on during our webinar. So the first aspect of all of this, before you can even have that engagement, you have to have subscribers. So we're just going to dive right into actually getting those subscribers. And I want to make it very clear that this is not a field of dreams scenario. You can't put a sign-up bar on your sidebar, a sign-up form on your sidebar, and just expect people to sign up. It's not an if you build it, they will come kind of thing. Just because you create an email list, people aren't going to sign up. So it's about knowing your target audience, and it's about being able to entice them to get on your list and giving them something good. So how do you actually do that? Well, the first thing that I love to tell people, and that works for me, is making sure that you have sign-up forms in multiple locations. And if you're creating valuable content on your blog, people are going to look for a way to subscribe. So make it really easy for them to do that. And I highly recommend that you put sign-up forms in your sidebar, possibly your blog post footer, and also on a couple of your blog pages, like your About page. Because you all know, if you are interested in the content on a blog and you want to know more about that person, you go to the About page. And it would be really great to be able to go ahead and subscribe right there on the About page without having to search for a sign-up form. So make it really easy for your subscribers. And one thing that you might want to consider doing is going into your Google Analytics and seeing what the traffic flow is from page to page, and making sure that you have an opportunity on all of those pages for people to actually sign up. Because you never know what page someone's going to come to first, or which page they're going to go to last before they exit your blog. So just make it very clear that you have a list and that it's easy for them to sign up. Another suggestion that I have, and this is something that I've implemented on Sweet Tea and Saving Grace, which is my home decor and DIY blog, I have a dedicated subscribe form, which has been really great for gaining subscribers there. And it's a dedicated page that has not just a sign-up form on it. I let people know these are the frequencies of the newsletters that I send out, and here's a sample of each one of these. So for example, I have a weekly and a monthly newsletter on Sweet Tea and Saving Grace, and I created a cute little graphic that they can click on, and it opens up one of my newsletters so they can actually read it and see what kind of content is in there before they decide they want to subscribe. I also take the opportunity on that subscribe page, excuse me, to let them know what my opt-in offer is. So everything is spelled out on that page, and they can go straight over there and decide if they want to sign up. And if they do, there's a sign-up form embedded on that page. I mentioned just a minute ago that I let people know what my opt-in offer is. And opt-in offers and content upgrades are really awesome for gaining subscribers. And you do have to be a little bit careful, and I'm going to let Kirsten talk about that in just a second, about creating the right opt-in offer and who you target. But an opt-in offer and a content upgrade are similar, but a little bit different. So an opt-in offer is something that your general audience is going to enjoy, and you give it away for free to everybody who signs up on your list, while a content upgrade is specific to an individual blog post. So for example, if you have some kind of recipe post, you can create a recipe card or a meal plan as a content upgrade for that particular post. So you know that people who are interested in reading these kinds of blog posts are going to be interested in that kind of a content upgrade. And finally, I mentioned earlier that I use social media. So this is kind of the proverbial shouting from the rooftops that you have an email list. And I'm a big fan of using your social media to help you gain those subscribers. And there's a ton of different ways to do that. And I actually did a totally separate webinar on just using social media with your email list. So I can't get into all the details, but just a few things to consider. Create a bit.ly link that links directly to your sign-up form, and write a tweet that you can pin to the top of your Twitter profile. You can have people go, when they see your Twitter profile, they'll see this pinned tweet and they can click on that link and immediately sign up. Another thing you can do is integrate your sign-up form with your Facebook page. So it's a tab on your Facebook page, and people can click on it from Facebook. They don't even have to leave your Facebook page to sign up. And it's integrated right there seamlessly. So they just sign up right there while they're on Facebook. You can do this on Pinterest. For example, one of the things that I love to do when I have a new opt-in offer is write a blog post about that opt-in offer, and make sure that I have a vertical image in that post that I can pin periodically over the course of several months. So people coming from Pinterest will see that pin, click over to that blog post, they'll learn more about me, they'll sign up for the opt-in offer and I'll gain those subscribers. So there are a lot of creative ways that you can use social media to get those subscribers, and Kirsten's got more ideas to help you make sure that you're getting the right subscribers into your inbox, into your email.
So I love, excuse me, I love Kirsten's ideas about everything basically. And I totally agree. She and I are like very in sync on a lot of this stuff, but you definitely want to look all throughout your blog to see where you can have things. But that freebie, making sure that's really targeted is super, super important. So let me back up for a second, and kind of I like to think of three primary ways that you can get people into your opt-in. You can ask people to join. And if you've ever seen Brian Harris from Video Fruit, he has like a 10,000 subscribers course or whatever. And and he has a free like little course on that too. And the first step for him is always telling people to ask, like go through your email, like your Gmail, and ask people and just directly ask them. And the same thing when you're on your social media, like Kirsten just talked about, you should be weekly asking people to join. Because if you don't ask, may not know. They may not just see those forms. We kind of have sidebar blindness. And then, those little hello bars on the tops of blogs people use, we're starting to get hello bar blindness. People stop seeing that. So you always want to ask. And then you want to attract people through awesome content. And Kirsten talked about that too. Like if you find a blog that you love, if I'm reading a post, like if I click over from Pinterest and love that post, the first thing I'm going to do is subscribe to the email. So you definitely want to attract them through your great content. And then that freebie is the offer. And, entrepreneurs call this a lead magnet. The content upgrades, as Kirsten said, is kind of like one thing through one particular post. Amy Porterfield talks about having like a primary freebie, like sign up for my email list and you get this. And then the content upgrades are like smaller other things that you might offer. And I'll share like a little story about how I have attracted the wrong people. And then I had to kind of backtrack. But one of the most, I went through my analytics and looked at my most popular posts. And one of my most popular posts was a guest post that a photographer friend of mine did. And this is not on creative writing. This is on my lifestyle blog. And so she did a post that was really awesome on how to use the manual mode on your DSLR. And she spelled it out so clearly and well. So that post got shared a ton. And I just sort of blindly followed that advice of put those sign-up forms in those popular posts. So I did that. And then I got all of these people signed up who were interested in photography. And I was like, oh, well, I'm never going to be talking about that again. So you want to kind of take that advice, but also be sure, like if your most popular post is not a post that's really related to the content you're going to send out in your weekly or monthly emails, maybe you don't want to put a sign-up form in that post. Okay. Just be kind of like mindful of that when you're doing that. I also, I have my lifestyle blog is very all over the place because that's how I am. And, I consciously chose, like, I'm not niching down, like, this is where my blog is. But that made it hard because I sometimes talk about faith stuff, sometimes food, sometimes family. Like, those are kind of the three mastheads. But the freebie that I used to offer, like the big freebie, was one based on faith. And that's probably the thing I talk about the least. And so not only did it not attract everybody that came to my blog, but also I don't talk about that in every email that I send. So it really confused people. So you want to kind of consider as you're writing a freebie, and it doesn't have to be a book. I think people get so intimidated by this idea of a freebie that it's got to be this giant thing. But on the converse side, I see people offering things like, here's a printable Bible verse. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I'm like, well, I could just print my own, like I've got the Bible here. Like, I don't need a printable Bible verse. So you do have to think about, like, okay, here's my target audience. What am I going to give them in my email? What is it that they want? And what is something like, what would you actually click to download? And maybe you would download that Bible verse. And so that may mean that person's a really good, that's a good target audience for you. But for me, like, I may read their blog, but I may not sign up. So you want to be really clear. You want to attract the right kinds of people. And, this year I saw something happen with one of my content upgrades that I think the nice thing about those is if you see one really start to do well, that can help you know your audience better too. Like, I had a content upgrade. I did this blog strategy planner that was really something I did for me because I like to be strategic. And so I created like this 50-page kind of planner to go through your analytics and kind of track and plan your blog for the year. And, I did it for me, but I was like, oh, this would be a great freebie. Well, I had like 600 people download that in January. And I was like, okay, so my normal freebie did not get that many people. This is what people want. So I'm actually switching that content upgrade. I'm going to keep it in the post, but I'm also making that my primary freebie because that was such an exhaustive thing and so popular that it helped me know, okay, this is what my audience wants from me. So that's going to now move from a content upgrade to my freebie. So I think you need to ask people to join, ask on social media. You can email people and ask them that you think would be interested. You can attract them through having great, consistent blog content, and then you can offer a freebie. So those are great ways, I think, to get that. And also, as you're doing your forms and stuff for signing up, one big thing, and I think Kirsten would agree with this, is make the wording your own. Because I will tell you, I am not going to sign up for somebody's email if they have the form from MailChimp or whoever, and it's like, subscribe to our newsletter, subscribe. And it's the exact same language that they use. All those forms are customizable. And if someone doesn't take the time to kind of see that and update it, I'm kind of like, well, why would they take the time to send an awesome email if they're not willing to just take 2 seconds and change the words, join my community of readers. You can change the wording just a little bit. You can make it funny. You can make it playful, make it make it kind of the same voice that you're going to use in your email. So I think that's a really important thing to note. It's a very small thing, but it does matter a lot when you see that someone takes that 2 seconds to update that. And so to kind of move on to talk about the inbox, like once you've got people sort of signing up there, you want to get people to open your email. So that's what we're talking about today, right? The engagement. So you're getting these subscribers, but then you have to get them to open. And I don't know how many emails you guys got this morning. I had about 200 when I woke up. Too many emails. We're overrun. So if you're not creating awesome content and you're not using great headlines, people are not going to be opening your emails. So the first thing I want to say, the first step to that is your welcome email. So MailChimp, I use ConvertKit now, but I do still use MailChimp and I used it for years. That welcome email is something super, super, super important. In fact, I think I've read the statistic somewhere that welcome emails have the highest open rate, like across the board for people, of any other email that gets sent. So that email is so important. And if you look through, like, every email subscriber or every email service provider is different, but MailChimp, they have all the forms you can customize, and that welcome email is in there. ConvertKit, it's a little different. MapMimi is different. Whoever you're using, there is that welcome email. It's not the confirmation email, because that email, you want it to be simple. Click the link, confirm, that's it. But the welcome email is your place. It'll come after they confirm, and it's that place where you can be who you are. You can help people understand what they're going to get from you. You're setting those expectations. You're showing them, hey, this is an email you have got to open. So you want to pack that email with value so that they're like, man, I love that email. I want to hear from this person again. You want to have your personal voice, your writing voice, like however you present yourself on your blog and in your email. You want that to shine through so that it's not just, again, if you don't customize that, like I know MailChimp, they just kind of, it just sends something. It's like, you are confirmed. It's like, okay, now I'm unsubscribing, because if you didn't take the time to write out an email, like, again, like why are we here? So you definitely want to go through, like, when you get off this, this workshop, if nothing else, go and update some of those forms. So that welcome email is really important. And if you can get people, so email, they're trying to be smart. So email will kind of read how you respond to different emails, and then that kind of determines whether things get sent to spam. So if you're opening an email and clicking, it's going to more likely hit your inbox and not the spam folder. So you want to also get people opening and clicking. And we're going to keep talking about that as well. But that's one of those main things, is that very first welcome email. Give them a survey. Give them a really easy question that people love to answer. Think about what people maybe ask on Facebook. I see a lot of like Facebook pages asking great questions and getting all these comments. Think about something that's like a very low risk question. What's your biggest pet peeve about XYZ? Something related to your topic. Anything you can do to get those people opening that welcome email and clicking is the way to go. And so I'm going to turn it over to Kirsten to talk a little bit more about that.
All right. They're awesome points. And I think a lot of times too, one of the things that you need to keep in mind are those lovely robotic spam filters. And those are things that we don't have a whole lot of control over. So when you're trying to get into people's inboxes, you have to kind of make sure that you do things the right way, so that spam filters the little robots that say, yes, this is a valid email from a legit sender. You have to make sure that you follow a few guidelines to make sure that more of your emails actually get to the inboxes. So I want to talk about that very briefly. And that's kind of your subject line on all of your emails. And just a couple things to keep in mind. Think about the emails that you receive that you automatically mark as spam before you even open them. And you're judging those emails based on a subject line or a headline. And maybe it's like a sales email, and you can tell immediately that it's a sales email. And typically those are things that have like all caps, open now, free, 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 like Sunday, 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 you know, this crazy thing. You don't want all these crazy flashing lights and big capital letters like you're yelling at people, because it triggers spam filters, and you're likely not going to end up in the inbox in the first place if you use that. So don't be a sleazy salesperson. Take the time to craft your subject line, which we're also going to get into in just a few minutes, and really think about what you respond to as a reader. And chances are your target audience is going to respond very similarly when they get your emails. Something that Kirsten mentioned that I wanted to touch on too, where she was talking about your welcome email when people initially confirm that they have subscribed to your list. Another option that you can try is, in lieu of the welcome email, I know in MailChimp, I'm not sure, Kirsten, you'll have to tell me if they do this in ConvertKit, but I know in MailChimp you can set it to send people to a thank you page instead of them receiving this welcome email. So this is something that I've done, and it's a great way for you to deliver your opt-in offer. It's a great way for you to kind of welcome people to the community, give them a tour of your blog, that sort of thing. So you basically create a private page, not necessarily private, but you create a page on your blog that you just don't put in your menu at all, and you add the URL of that page in MailChimp, where you go to the confirmation welcome email in the drop down, and you'll add that link in there. And so if I go and subscribe to your list and then I confirm it, I'm immediately going to be rerouted back to your blog, which is what we want people to do anyway, is go back to our blog. And you can tell me more about you. You can tell me how your blog got started. You can kind of show me some of your older posts. So it's a great way to get new eyes on old content. And you can deliver your opt-in offer and kind of let them know what to expect. Great, you're on the list. Look for your next email on Friday morning or whatever. So it's just a kind of a soft welcome instead of, all right, you're on the list, take care, we'll see you later. So consider a thank you page too. And also, in addition to that, she was talking about a welcome email, which I absolutely love. And your welcome email doesn't even have to be just one email. You can create an entire series of emails. So let's say, for example, you have 4 or 5 different categories on your blog. You could create the initial welcome email telling them about your blog and that you're happy to have them, and here's the community, and here's what to expect, and maybe deliver your opt-in offer that way. And then take the time to send them a weekly or a bi-weekly email through an automated series of emails that introduces them to content from each of your blog categories. And you can put a call to action in each one of those, and you can kind of gauge, you know, which categories are more popular, which ones this particular person is interested in, and you might be able to segment your list based on their interests too. So that's also something else to consider. Let's see. Also, when you have new subscribers, it's really nice to kind of take just a couple of minutes when you first send them that initial welcome email and educate them on how to make sure that they get your emails. And this is something that I've been seeing more and more of from companies, and it's really a great tactic. But I'm sure a lot of you guys know Gmail introduced the whole tab thing, and I don't use it in my own inbox because it was just too many tabs to look in, but there's like a forum tab, and there's a promotions tab, and there's all this stuff. And Gmail decides where your emails go. So if your emails are constantly sitting in the promo tab, people might not see them unless they go to their general inbox. So when you can change the wording, as Kirsten said, on all of those emails instead of sending generic emails. And when you change the wording, just put a little blurb in there that says, hey, to make sure that you get all of my emails, add my email address to your safe senders list. Okay? Very simple, one line, but it lets people know, you know, I want you to get these emails, you signed up, make sure you get them. And that'll also help with your open rates and your click rates and everything like that, because they'll actually be going to inboxes. And the final point I want to make on actually getting into inboxes is authentication. And I know, and Kiki, you can speak to this in ConvertKit as well, but in MailChimp, You can authenticate your domain. So if, for example, you have an email address that is yourname@yourblog.com, you can go into MailChimp and authenticate that domain so that you tell MailChimp and its robots that control the spam filters that this is a legit person, I'm real, I'm not sending spam, here's the domain name. And then also with every single campaign you send, there's a little checkbox that says authenticate this campaign, and if you check that box, that also helps with spam filters. So those are just a few things. And before we get into talking about open rates, Kirsten, I'd love to hear how ConvertKit sets up the authentication and if it allows thank you pages.
Okay, so ConvertKit, I'm not sure if they do an authentication option. I haven't seen that in there. But I will say I don't think it affects the open rate, because my open rates have actually not doubled, but close to it since moving. But part of that also, the way that a lot of these email service providers tracks opens is not always correct. So like if you have images in your email and somebody doesn't, click that display images, sometimes that doesn't count as an open. So, it's really hard to always know. But yeah, with ConvertKit, I haven't had a problem with that. So I'm not sure if they have an automatic thing, but you don't have to go through the process of doing that, I'll say. And then I don't remember what your other question was about ConvertKit. About the welcome, they handle the welcome email stuff a little bit different. You can actually, okay, so the welcome email, I just looked in MailChimp. The welcome email is always an email. You can't turn that off, but there is the option when people confirm to send them to another page. And actually, I think there's two places in MailChimp, because MailChimp like wins the award for the most amount of forms that will happen, like pages and stuff, which is good because that allows you all those chances to connect with your people before they get your email. So get in there, spend some time, and like, oh, look at all these forms. Sign up for your own email list. See what happens. Check all those pages. And I still do this. I've already customized everything. I still sign up and I'm like, oh, I need to change that. That's old. So yeah, you do in ConvertKit as well. You have the option. There's a place to send someone the success. You can send them to another page. And I take advantage. I do use lead pages. I'm not sure I'm going to stick with lead pages after my year is up. But I really like to offer like a thank you page with a social share in it, so that once people hit that kind of confirm and it refreshes into another page, it's saying, thanks for signing up. And it's a personal message, and then a way for them to share with friends, like, hey, bring a friend along. Like, you may like this content as well. But the welcome email, both in ConvertKit and MailChimp, I think, and ConvertKit handles this a little bit differently. They actually use the confirmation email where people click to confirm. They actually deliver your freebie in that email, which is really one of my favorite features. So like you go in there and it's like, click to download, and that's the confirmation. And so they kind of take a step out of that process, and then you can add a welcome email in. And with MailChimp, like if you're not wanting to pay for the autoresponders, which I never paid for those, that welcome email, you can kind of consider that like, okay, you just get a one email autoresponder series. So that's like your email, as Kirsten was saying, you can set up a whole series of emails, but in MailChimp, you have to pay for those. I don't think those are on the free plan still. Am I right about that?
Yep, you're correct. And that is a good point. If maybe you don't want to pay until you hit the 2,000 subscriber mark in MailChimp, and you can absolutely, like Kiki was saying earlier, you can go in and customize all those forms to your heart's content. You can put anything on them you want. So if you want to put your opt-in offer or any kind of welcome information on that email, do that. Definitely do that. Take advantage. And yeah, there are tons of forms. If you go into MailChimp and look at your sign-up forms, there's this long drop-down menu that you can choose from. And I highly recommend that you go through each and every one and just read what it says and make sure that you're okay with that. You don't have to go and do all this fancy customization on it, but just make sure that you're okay with at least the verbiage so that it sounds like you. And another thing you just said, Kirsten, that I definitely want to like high five crazy is sign up for your own list. If you don't sign up for your list, then you're not going to know what's going on. So if you have an RSS-driven campaign and it doesn't go out one day, you need to be the first person to notice that it doesn't go out. And you can get in there and find out what's going on. So definitely sign up for your own email list, constantly be checking how things go, and go through the flow. You can go in and unsubscribe yourself periodically and re-sign up, and just make sure that the process is flowing properly. So that's a great point. So the next thing that we're going to talk about now that we're actually in people's inboxes is we want them to open our emails. So we're going to talk about open rate. And I touched on this very briefly at the very beginning of our webinar, but I'm a huge fan of A/B testing. And if you're not sure what A/B testing is, this is something that you can do where you have one variable for your email campaign. And in this particular case, I'm talking about subject lines. So on the MailChimp platform, you can set up A/B testing for every campaign you send, and you can have up to 3 different subject lines for every email. And this is just a really great way, especially when you're just trying to figure out how to send your emails and what you're going to say, and you're just trying to kind of get into the groove and find your voice and your flow and everything. Try A/B testing for a couple of months and gauge the response rate and the open rate for each subject line that you send. So when you do that, you select what percentage of your actual list is going to get the 3 test emails. And I usually select 25% of my list, and I give it 4 hours. So I'll send an email out. The test email will go out at like 6 a.m. and then whichever one is deemed the winner based on the highest open rate gets sent out to the remainder of my list. And this is really great to see because you don't really know how people are going to respond to things until you test them. So it's really nice to be able to do that. And just to get you started, I always suggest that you try a question, a statement, and a call to action as your 3 subject lines. And you can totally change that up any way you want, but just to kind of get you used to creating 3 different kinds of subject lines. But I will say, I want to make this point, make sure that your subject line actually matches the content of your email. I've gotten emails like that look like clickbait, and it's really obnoxious, and it makes me unsubscribe immediately. So, if you're writing an email about, I keep going back to recipes, I think I'm hungry. If you write an email about, a meal plan or whatever, and you have a food blog, but your subject line is about this awesome DIY project, it doesn't make sense. So make sure that your subject line matches the content of your blog, of your newsletter, and lets people know kind of what to expect on the inside so they will be more likely to open it. And we touched on this before, but making sure that you have the right subscribers. If you have a list full of people who maybe opted in for a giveaway that you hosted, which I am not a fan of, don't use your sign-up form as a giveaway entry unless it's very specifically targeted to your main audience. Even then, I'm kind of, I don't know, I think that's kind of iffy. But make sure that you are sending emails to a list of people who genuinely want your content. And this kind of ties in everything that we've talked about so far. If you have opt-in offers or content upgrades or whatever, and you are writing content on your blog that resonates with people, those are the kind of people that you want on your list. They're going to be a quality list, not just a massive list full of people taking up space. So keep that in mind when you are sending these emails. And that's really all I have on open rate. There's a lot of things that you can do. And obviously, too, if you consistently deliver really good content inside of your newsletters, people are going to consistently look for them. And one example that I have of this is Amy Lynn Andrews. She has the same subject line every single week when she sends an email, and it's just the newsletter number, whatever. But it consistently is packed full of value, so I open it every single week. As soon as I get it, honestly, it comes out on Saturday mornings, and every single Saturday morning when I get it, I open it and I read it, and it's always full of value. So she has built a reputation for sending quality content, and she doesn't even have to use some fancy subject line because people just know it's Amy Lynn Andrews, it's going to be quality. So she has a really high open rate, I would assume, because people know that she's sending good stuff. So if you constantly are sending good stuff, people are going to want to open that email. Kirsten, what do you have?
Yeah, really, I'm just going to reiterate the same points you made. I think, there's that I like to make this distinction. There's clickbait, which means the content doesn't match that kind of crazy headline. And you guys know, you've all seen those. I always get trapped into clicking on them from Facebook or those really spammy websites where at the bottom they're like, you may also like, and it's got like this picture like, you won't believe what celebrities have been arrested. And I'm like, wait a minute, he's been arrested? And then you click and that person wasn't even mentioned in the article. They just used a picture of somebody to get you over there. That's clickbait. Don't do that. Okay. Because trust is that like #1 thing that you build with your subscribers. And if you break their trust, they're gone. But the difference between clickbait and clickable is like Kirsten said, I love that. The question, the statement, call to action, something I like to think about itchy headlines, like writing headlines that make you've got to scratch them. It's like this itch of curiosity that gets people like, I have to open this. Like, what in the world is this? But again, if it doesn't match your content, you're breaking your subscribers' trust, and you don't want to do that. So you want to have that headline match. And it's kind of that chicken and egg problem. If you don't have a great headline, people aren't going to be attracted to open. But if your content stinks, they're not going to want to open either. So you kind of have to do both really well. And it does take work. And I think the most pushback I see from bloggers is they're like, I don't have time. I'm already writing all these blog posts. I don't have time. And I'm like, look, this, even if it's one email a week, this is more important than that blog post. Take out a blog post for the week, because these are your people. These are your people. And, you know, there's a term people talk about having a warm list, and that's a list of people who are engaged and open. And so whenever I get unsubscribes, because everybody hates that, and pretty much every time I send an email, at least one person unsubscribes, I just try to tell myself my list just got warmer, because whoever got that email, they weren't interested. And it does suck when it's like my best friend's mom. That happened this year. And I was like, what did I do? What did I do to you? You don't want to read my emails, but it happens. And she wasn't my target audience for what I was writing about. So you want to have clickable headlines and great content, and you want them to match together. And one thing too, sometimes in email inboxes, you see not only the subject line, but that little preview. And MailChimp has that at the very top of emails. There's that little thing, and I see so many people you'll have to go in if you're in MailChimp, not updating that. And it says, click here to add your own content. And it's at the very top in these tiny letters, which I think is why people miss it. And if you do update that, people will see it sometimes in their inbox, a little portion of it. So I try to make that kind of interesting as well. But if people don't see that and don't update it, then the first thing you see in your inbox is somebody like not customizing something. So always customize all the things that you can. So I think curiosity is a good way to get people to open, having some kind of emotion. People love, you know, specificity. If you can do numbers like 10 ways to do X, 5 things I learned this week. But again, you're training your readers with your content. And Amy Lynn Andrews, she was going to be my example as well. So she really is fantastic. And once you have gotten her content, you know, when you see her name in the inbox that you want to open. And so you want to keep that consistent. You want to try to send at consistent times as well. One of the things you can also do with A/B testing is test the day and the time. And I think I wouldn't test both at the same week, because that's not really going to help you decide things. But like, you can do the headline testing, and then maybe every now and then you want to test time and date. I found one week, I sent for like 2 years, I sent on a Sunday. And then one week I got really busy, so I sent on a Wednesday, and I had like 20 unsubscribes. And I was like, what in the world? And I mean, my list got warmer. Yeah. But I was like, it showed me like either people were so used to getting them on Sundays, they weren't opening or ignoring them, or my people want to read on Sundays. They don't want to read on Wednesdays. It shocked them. Like, what are you doing in my inbox on a Wednesday? So you do want to test that day and the time, and then stick consistently to it, because you want people to know what to expect. Kind of moving into engagement and click rate as we kind of close up, and then Kirsten's going to kind of finish up with her thoughts.
Okay, before we get to that, we have a question from Denise, and she was asking, how often do you recommend we send out emails weekly, and do you recommend daily emails? So I'll let you take that one first, and then I'll follow up.
Yeah, so Kirsten and I are both not formula type people. You need to find what works for you. So that may take some testing over some months. And we're saying be consistent. So you may want to try something for a little bit of time. Don't change it up every week. But also find what you can sustain. I do not like daily emails. There are very few people. If Amy Lynn Andrews sent a daily email, I probably wouldn't open them all. I want one a week from her. I don't think most people want more than one a week. The only time I would really say that, and I know Kirsten's going to touch on RSS. I'm not a big RSS fan at all. If you do only write like 2 posts a week, there are a few people that I'm subscribed to. They write 1 to 2 posts a week. Every time they do a post, they send like what I call a teaser email. And it's an email that's like, hey, everybody, it's very personal. It reminds me that I have that connection with them. And it says, hey, everybody, I wrote a post on XYZ. I really think you'll find it valuable. Head over to the blog and you can leave a comment. And the people that do it best, they use that itchiness. They use that curiosity. So you've got to get over there and see what they wrote. Plus, again, that chicken and egg thing, if you know they have good content, you're like, oh, great, they've got a blog post. I've got to get over there. But they also, one of my favorites of these is Blog Tyrant, a guy named Ramsey, who's from Australia, and he's awesome. But he always says, hey, I'll be hanging out in the comments. And he does. He writes a blog post. He sends that teaser email, and then he sits there and he answers all the hundreds of comments that come in. Like, that's how he blocks off his day. And so that engagement too, it shows people he's showing up, he's there, and he hears your responses. So Kirsten, do you want to touch on that too?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I like Kiki said, I'm not a huge formula person, and I get this question a lot, honestly. I have people constantly going, well, you know, I know I need to send a newsletter, but I don't know when I need to send it or whatever. And the biggest thing, and I think this is really important, and this is something that Kiki talked about briefly a few minutes ago, where she said, you know, you need to make sure that you're sending valuable content. And if that means taking a blog post off of your plate every week to dedicate that time to writing a really solid newsletter, do that. So how much time do you actually have to invest in that? Do you have time to do that once a week? I just interviewed Lauren Lanker from The Thinking Closet on my blog yesterday, actually, and she spends 3 to 4 hours on her monthly newsletter. And that's a lot of time, but it's awesome. Every one of her monthly newsletters, I mean, I love getting them. I love reading them. They're packed full of awesome stuff. And so you have to invest time to have really good quality emails. And like both of us have been saying, this is your target audience. These are where your people are. So you need to figure out how much time you need to invest to actually reach the people you want to reach. Don't worry about taking all that time for social media. I mean, use social media, yes, but invest most of your time in your email list, and it will pay off for you in the form of traffic, in the form of any kind of monetization that you try to do down the road, anything like that. So keep that in mind when you're determining your frequency, and test it for 2 to 3 months and gauge your reaction from your readers before you change it. Don't change it frequently, like Kiki said. And I'm just going to say, Kiki, we have about 15 minutes to try to wrap this up. So let's go.
Okay, so I'm going to talk really briefly about engagement and kind of click rate, because they're, you know, similar things. And I think, like I said, with the welcome email, what you want people to do is you want them to engage with your email. It lets their inbox know that they want that email, so it's going to stay in the inbox, not the spam folder. But it builds a relationship. One of my favorite things to do in my emails is at the very end, I say, I'm just on the other side of the reply button, hit reply, and I give them a question. And it was really cool. I actually saw somebody that follows me started using almost that same language. And I was like, cool, someone took my language because they liked it so much. But I sit there and I will reply. And I tell people, like, until I'm Taylor Swift, which is never going to happen for a lot of reasons, I'm going to respond. So when people hit reply and they answer me, then I talk back. And I have a few people that literally answer every single week. And I look forward to that. And we've gotten to know each other, and I feel like they're friends now. And so it really does take that engagement up a level. I interviewed on the Creative Writing Podcast a guy named Paul Jarvis, and he's a freelancer, just really cool guy. And he's really unique. And so we talked about email, and he has, you know, a giant list. I mean, he's been doing what he does for a long time. So he didn't give me numbers, but he did say at one point he deleted 7,000 people who were not opening. And so I was like, how big is his list then if he deleted 7,000 people? And well, maybe we can get to that in a question time, but there are reasons you might want to delete that many people. But he says that he blocks off his day, kind of like Blog Tyrant, to answer comments. Paul actually sends out his weekly email is a preview of that week's blog post. So it's the blog post, but before it hits the blog, he sends it to his subscribers first. So it's kind of like you're getting that sneak peek, which is a kind of neat way to do it too. But he blocks off that day because he gets so many responses because he asks a question at the end, and he sits there and replies to them all. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that shows people how engaged you are. It's reminding them like, okay, you subscriber, you are human, you are a person. I am also a person. And that seems like it's not rocket science, but you know, a lot of people send emails, and it's not like you're a human. It's like you're a number. It's like you're a sales. It's like, you know, I don't like it. I like to learn from entrepreneurs, but I don't like how they talked about people as being leads and talk about lead magnets. And I'm like, no, we're people. Okay, my subscribers are people. They're my readers. They're not a lead. You know, even if I do sell things, which I do, like they're not just a lead to me. You're not a number. You're a person reading my email. So treat them that way. And again, I mean, I think for clicking, it's the same kind of stuff as we've talked about before, just putting it in the content. Valuable content, send people great links, use the same kind of headlines or, you know, inside your blog post, phrases that make people want to click. Like, hey, here's a really great post I read on 4 ways to fix your inbox. Okay, yeah, I want my inbox fixed. It's overflowing. People are going to want to click on that. So use those same kind of rules within your email. And I also think, you know, once a year, at least I send a survey to people, and that's a link in there that I have them click. Sometimes I give, I do a giveaway and I'll do a drawing with those subscribers. Sometimes I just ask questions. It kind of depends on my purpose, but you can do a lot of things, but giving them a call to action, hit reply on the email, take my survey, head over to the blog and leave a comment. Giving them some kind of call to action is a great way to increase that click. And I think Kirsten's going to touch on this, but this is kind of my last thing to say is I'm not a huge fan of RSS feeds. I do understand why some people send them, but to me, especially if it's truncated, and by that I mean like the teaser, where you get an email and it's got a post title and like half a paragraph and it's like click to read more. When I get those, I unsubscribe. And the reason is I feel like that person is training me that the email is not valuable. All the valuable content, I'm going to have to go somewhere else to see it. I can just go to their blog for that. I don't need it in my inbox. So, you know, and I want to hear Kirsten's perspective because I think hers might be a little different than mine, but that's just something to consider. And you can ask yourself, okay, am I providing value? Is this email with truncated links where there's nothing actually content-wise in the email itself? Why send it? But I do know some people sign up and want those. So I'm going to turn it over, and that's kind of my end. So if we have time for questions after that, we can.
Okay, great. Thanks for wrapping that up. So I know we have a lot of content to share, guys, and honestly, I think an hour doesn't really do it justice. So we might have to do this again, Kirsten. Maybe expand on some of these things that we're talking about. So yeah, I am definitely a proponent of quality over quantity. So I would much rather have you, I would much rather see a list with 1,500 subscribers and a 50% open rate than 5,000 subscribers and a 10% open rate, because that tells me that you have a really great list. And one of the things that Kirsten was talking about was a warm list. And I think I have a post in the works actually about how to clean your list. And that's what she was talking about, where I guess she said Paul Jarvis, I think, took 7,000 subscribers off of his email list. And there's a reason to do that. You want people who are genuinely engaged with your email list. So if they're not opening, they're actually taking up space, and it would be no different than having somebody living in your house for free without paying rent. So especially when you get to the point where you're paying for an email service, you want to make sure that you're paying for quality people. And like she said, they are genuinely people. So you want to make sure you treat them like that. And that's one of the things I think that started this whole idea for she and I to do this webinar together. We were kind of lamenting on etiquette and how to treat people, because there was this really nasty email that was sent out from a very big blogger who shall remain nameless. But he sent a really harshly worded email to people who were not actively engaged on his list. And he basically told them, he's like, I don't like you. You obviously don't like me. I don't want you on my list. If you want to stay on my list, good for you. Send me a response, whatever. And it was just really harshly worded and very ugly. And I don't think many people respond very well to something like that. You know, people want to be treated like people. We're treated like numbers all the time. You go to the dry cleaner, you get a number. You go to the grocery store, you get a number to get your deli meat. You're treated like numbers all the time. So an email list, if you really curate a solid email list of loyal people and you treat them well, they're going to love you for it. And you're going to build that know, like, and trust factor that is so important. So obviously, one of the things that I want to mention, and I'll get to the RSS feed in just a second, but one of the things that I want to mention is if you're using an email service provider that allows you to collect first names and allows you to use merge tags within the body of your email, put the person's first name in there. You can drop an F-name merge tag into the body of your email, and it's much more personal than be like, hey guys, and that tells me if I see hey guys or how are y'all doing or whatever, I say y'all all the time, so I really have to go back and read reread my emails before I send them out to make sure I don't use that cumulative y'all, because I want people, when they get my emails, to feel like I wrote it just to them. So I try to make sure that I use that FNAME merge tag multiple times throughout, like I'm having a conversation. So I would be like, hey, Kirsten, this is what's going on. And I'll get through part of my email and I'll be like, so what do you think, Kirsten? And I'll put that FNAME merge tag in there again. And it's just a really nice way to remind them that I'm writing this to you. This is, you know, I did all of this for you and I want you to enjoy it. And then the call to action, obviously, if you ask them a question and you get a response, reply. It takes 2 seconds. Even if it's a simple email to just say, thank you so much. This is a great idea. I'll put it on my list and I'll let you know when I write something about it, if they've asked for your feedback or whatever. But try to take the time to reply to these emails, even if it's a couple days later. I know, you know, neither one of us are ever going to be Taylor Swift famous. I love that. That made me laugh out loud. But I think it's really important for people to know that there's a person behind that inbox. And if you treat them that way, they will definitely respond to it in a very unique way. And it's all part of building that community. So I'm trying to go through my notes. I want to make sure I hit the highlights because I know we're running out of time. Your email list is your community and they are your VIPs. So if you haven't ever launched a product and maybe you're never going to launch a product, one of the things that I hear all the time is, well, I'm not going to sell anything. I'm not selling anything. So why do I need an email list? Well, you are selling something. You're selling your content. You're selling your voice. You're selling your brand. Even if it's not a money for product exchange, it is your words for their time. So there is an exchange of currency in some form there. So keep that in mind. And you want people to respond to the content that you're creating. So make sure that you treat them respectfully and you give them, you know, first glances at new projects that you're working on, or a behind the scenes look at the blogger behind the blog. Things like that you wouldn't normally post maybe on your blog or on your social media. Your email list, your newsletter is a really great opportunity for you to get more personal than you might on your blog. You can talk about your family a little bit more. You can share pictures. You can even get your readers involved and have them send you pictures. So like we just had Valentine's Day. If you have pictures from like a daddy-daughter dance that your kid and your child and her dad went to, send that in a newsletter. Be like, hey, I want to see yours too. Email me back, let me see it. It's a great way to build engagement, and it's a really great way to show that you're a human. Let's see, RSS, I'll touch on that. I have kind of a love-hate with RSS newsletters. Well, I don't even want to call them newsletters. They're not even really newsletters. I do think that it is acceptable to give your subscribers the option to only get your blog post through email. But I also think that you should also have a dedicated newsletter, because there are going to be those people who only want your blog post. That's it. They don't want to hear from you unless you have a blog post. They just want to read your blog post. Just send me the freaking blog post. That's fine. Let those people have your blog post. But one of the things that I used to do on my Sweet Tea and Saving Grace blog was I had a RSS email and I had a weekly newsletter. And the newsletter was where I packed in my personality. The RSS was, here's the latest blog post, come on over and see it. And I did truncate those because I wanted people to come to my blog. I don't do the RSS anymore because I only post twice a week. And to me, that's kind of overkill because I have a weekly and a monthly. So I just talk about my blog post in the weekly that I send on Fridays. But it's also a newsletter. So I share more behind the scenes stuff and what's going on. And here's the latest with the family and that sort of thing. And oh, by the way, here's the blog post from the week if you missed them. So it's just a personal preference. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with RSS, but I don't think that's the only email that you should be sending. So like I said, give your subscribers the option to get just the RSS or an actual newsletter or both. And that's really easy to set up on your sign-up forms. I'm trying to think if I think I got everything, Kirsten. Do we have any questions?
Well, we had a couple. I was trying to type one in and then listen to you, and I'm terrible at multitasking right now. But Shelly was asking sample newsletters of good ones, and I said that sign up for either of ours. I mean, because I'd like to hope that you can stand by our content. But, you know, like I'm sending, I think there's like kind of 5 types of email that you can send. And I always say 5, but let's see if I can remember them. But there's an RSS if you're sending that. There's the teaser post, like I mentioned, where you're like, hey, I have a new post up. There's kind of the value driven where you're sending like, here are some links I collected, like Amy Lynn Andrews would fall under that. There's a sales promo type email, which I think is probably the most kind of emails that we get, right? From like Old Navy and everybody else, but also bloggers when they have a big product launch. Like there are a few people I'm on their list and I know when they're about to launch something, because all of a sudden out of nowhere, I start getting emails and I'm like, I haven't heard from you in a while. I bet you're launching a course. And then there's kind of like the newsletter style, but I hate that term too, where it's kind of like a blog post. Like maybe that would work for if you're sending that there before you actually put it on the blog. Or, you know, for my lifestyle blog, KirstenOliphant.com, I just send out, it's like a blog post, but it's more personal in tone, where I'm sending them some reflections about my week. And sometimes I do turn that into a blog post later, sometimes not, but it's usually a little bit different because my tone and kind of the way that I write on my blog itself is a little bit different than in the email. Like in the email, again, it's just a little bit more personal because I consider it sending right to their inbox. And so I like to consider like it's more of a conversation, if that makes sense. So those are kind of the 5 types you send. So for me, for good examples, if I hit a blog I just subscribe to see what they send. Unless they haven't customized their forms, as I said, I'm not going to sign up, but otherwise I will.
Okay, I saw in our comments that somebody was asking about merge tags for first name. So I'm putting, if there's a merge tag that you can use if if you haven't collected the first name from people, or if some people just leave that blank, there is an if then statement that includes merge tags. So you can say, if there is a first name in that field, use it here. If there isn't, use this instead. And I'm putting that in the chat box for people. So people can actually, you just copy and paste this right into the content of your newsletter and just tell it what you want it to say. So you would say like, hi, Kirsten, or if your name is not there, it would be like, hey, how are you, or whatever. So I know this will be delayed, so people won't know what that is at first, but that's okay. So let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, as far as quality newsletters, I stand behind my own newsletter, and I think we can even link to those. Because I know some people are, your readers and some are my readers, and we'd love for you guys to be all of our readers.
Yeah.
So we can link our sign-up forms in the chat box.
And when we send out the replay as well, that would be a great time as well to send maybe some of the links that we've talked about, since we're kind of flying through this. Yeah, we have tons of links. And then I think we're going to offer a discount as well if anybody wants any of our paid stuff.
Yeah, and Kirsten, do you have a link? I have, so for those of you who aren't really familiar with me, I'll just give you a brief little intro. So I wrote a 160-page ebook called An Inbox of Opportunity, and it's basically a step-by-step guide through the MailChimp platform. So if you have any questions about MailChimp, chances are it's in there. I am going to be releasing a revised edition to that later in the spring or early summer, and you'll get that revision if you purchase the ebook now. I'll upgrade you because there's a lot of content in there that I didn't put in the first ebook because it was meant to kind of be just a basic overview. But there's a ton of information in there. It's full of screenshots, and you can literally have it sitting next to you, work on MailChimp and flip the pages, and it will walk you through how to do stuff. So I normally charge $50 for that ebook, and I have a discount code just for our live viewers, and you can get it for $25. So I'm putting that in the chat box right now. Discount for live viewers. And Kirsten, do you have something?
Yes, I do, and I'm going to type it in there as well. So for a minute, you guys may hear a lot of typing as we type stuff in. But I'm offering, I have 2 courses you'll see when you do the link, but the discount only goes for one because the other is a joint course, and I'm not going to offer, but I will offer 50% off. I have a book, 31 Small Steps to Grow Your Blog, which is almost like a mini course as well that has 31 ways to grow your blog, kind of little actionable steps. And then I also have an email course. It's not specific to MailChimp. It does have some MailChimp training in there as well. And I'm actually updating the videos, but it's 6 modules that kind of takes you from start to finish email helps you pick a provider, talks about the content, kind of a lot of the stuff we talked about today, but just on steroids. So it's more of that. And then also how to monetize. So if you're somebody who's like, I want to make money on my list, entrepreneurs are always saying the money's in the list. Where's the money in my list? It talks about that as well. So I'm going to link that in there right now.
Awesome. And yeah, these discounts are just for you guys who are watching live. We're not going to share these links with the replay. So keep that in mind. And I think we need kind of I'm going to keep my discount going until midnight tonight. How about that? So you guys have a few hours, you have about 12 hours to take advantage of that. And I'll pop in later tonight and remove that discount. So I think that's it. This has been awesome. Do you have a limited time? You want to limit the time on yours as well?
Probably as soon as 24 hours or when I remember to take it down.
Yeah, that's probably better because I won't be up at midnight tonight.
Yeah, I may leave mine open through the replay. Just so I may just leave it for a couple days.
Okay.
I don't think my people are going to pass stuff around, so I don't care about leaving it open.
Yeah,
Plus,
that's true. That's a good point. I'll do that too.
And my code, for some reason, when I first made it, it's email nerds because, hello, email nerds. But when I made it, it wasn't all caps, but it showed in all caps. So for whatever reason, if that doesn't work, if all caps doesn't work, I'll just type that in there. Just try it without, I don't know, but that's the code. But it showed up as all caps. So I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want to mention very quickly, this page that you guys are viewing the webinar on with the chat box is going to stay up until tomorrow. And then when I actually send out the link to the replay, this page will disappear. So if you want to get those links, make sure that you bookmark those links. The inbox of opportunities is not only focusing on MailChimp. Yes, it is. That is a MailChimp guide. So if you're using something else, it probably won't help you. So if you guys have any questions for me, you can email me at sweetteagrace@gmail.com or pretty much anywhere on social media at sweetteagrace. Kirsten, how can they find you? She just typed it in. Kirsten at KirstenOliphant.com.
Yep, I just typed it in. But yeah, we'd love to talk more with you guys. I mean, this is, we're a few minutes over and I think we're going to both run and get work done. But we clearly have a lot to say about email and are happy to say it.
Yep. And if you guys have an idea for future webinars or any kind of course content or anything that you think Kirsten and I could collaborate on, we would love to hear that because this was a lot of fun. And I love getting the insight from somebody who's on a different platform because things are different and it's really nice to get a different perspective from that. So thank you, Kirsten, very, very much for doing this with me. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Julie just joined and was like, better late than never. Yes, there will be a replay, so just check your email. And if you guys are here, I left the link just to this page in one of my groups. So if you didn't actually sign up, let me know in the group so we can make sure you get the replay. But yeah, we'll give a replay for this as well. So sorry, but yeah. Well, thank you guys so much.
Well, y'all have a fabulous rest of your day, and thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.
All right, happy emailing.
Bye. Thanks, Kirsten.